an entitled spoiled brat destroys my property and threatens to have me and my family evicted, all because we told them to get lost, and I honestly could not be more upset. Here's what happened. So for context, my childhood was spent growing up in Dubai in a villa compound, which is basically like a mini gated community of 16 odd villa homes that each have a private back garden that then converges into a large shared space with a pool, social area, foliage, and other things. Now, as a result of this, everyone got to know their neighbors very well due to the shared social space, and as most homes had kids, we'd all play together in the pool. Now, there was a particular family with two very entitled, spoiled children, who we will call Anna and Francis, which is not their actual names. They had to have been at least 9 at the time. These little turds were well known for causing trouble in the community, and they were generally well known for being extremely entitled. So one afternoon, my younger brother runs into our house, having been playing in a group with some other kids, including Anna and Francis, and he was very frustrated. He announces to me that Anna and Francis are currently in our private back garden, ripping the heads off of flowers. I, of course, go outside and find the two little gremlins, ripping apart plants and kicking our hedges, all whilst being supervised by their nanny, who spoke very little English. I looked at them and I started shouting, "What do you think you're doing?" Anna then looked at me and said, "Go away. We can do whatever we want." I responded by saying, "Stop that right now. Get out of our garden." The nanny just stood there with a vacant expression on her face, so I walked up to her as the kids are still destroying our garden. I say to her, "Excuse me, aren't you going to do something about this?" The nanny looked at me and said, "No, they do what they want until dinner time." I looked at them and I said, "This is our garden. Can you please make them just leave?" But this time there was no response, besides vacant blinking. So naturally, my younger brother and I turn to the gremlins and very firmly tell them to stop and get out now, and I start to usher them towards the exit. This is when Anna drops some serious threats. Anna says, "My mother owns this whole compound, and we own your house, you jerk." I responded by saying, "No you don't. You can leave now." Anna then doubled down by saying, "We own your house. We can break anything we want. We can do anything we want. We'll get you kicked out as well." At this point, we've pushed them out, followed meekly by their nanny, and locked the garden gate. On the other side, they hurl obscenities and eventually run off to find their entitled mother. I'm told by my own mom that she had a heated conversation with this entitled mother, who in fact did not own the compound, nor our house, but was very displeased that her children's fun was interrupted by my brother and I. Apparently, we have no right to upset or interfere in matters involving her children, and we would do well to keep our business to ourselves, or the landlord would be called. Suffice to say, my mom was not having any of it, and asked politely that her children do not invite themselves into our garden and to not destroy our property, which is in fact grounds to involve the landlord. The entitled mother left in a huff, and we didn't hear from them for a couple of weeks, thankfully. But unfortunately, this wouldn't be the first or the last time that we would have to deal with this entitled mother and her spoiled, rotten children. How obnoxious is that? First off, what a terrible nanny. She literally just let these kids do whatever they wanted and destroy someone else's property, basically pretending like nothing's going on. I mean, talk about sucking at your job. Not to mention the terrible attitude of the mother and the children. Like, you can clearly see where the children get this attitude from, where they can basically do whatever they want, because this entitled mother is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how can she not see that this is a problem, and that she really should not allow her kids to just run wild and do whatever they want? Because this kind of action is honestly really obnoxious, and those kids and that mom really should be ashamed of themselves. I was wrongly canceled in my community over lies, and it ruined my relationship, and now I hold so much rage for the person responsible, and I really need help in this situation because I don't know what to do. My relationship blew up entirely, and along with it, so many of my life plans. I put all my marbles in this basket. I've been depressed and down and confused for so long. I have really dark thoughts about the person who caused this, and I need help and I don't know how to cope. As a side career and hobby, and it's one that I love, I make artworks and I share them on my social medias. There's a large community of like-minded people doing the same. It's how I met my girlfriend of 5 years. She's immensely popular while I'm just getting my foot in the door. There was drama at one point for me. Another artist was copying my work constantly. Supposed fans of mine would point it out. I would see it, but I would say nothing and just let it go. Although inside it was bothering me a lot. It got blatant and consistent, so I finally made public note of it, made a brush-off joke about it, and blocked the plagiarizing artist, and I intended to move on after that. However, the plagiarizing artist got mad and decided to try and cancel me on false pretenses. Apparently, me making these comments poked their insecurity. One of the plagiarizer's friends was a distant internet friend of my girlfriend. I'll call the distant friend Stacy, even though that's not her real name. Stacy started by writing essays worth of text messages to my girlfriend, explaining how I'm a terrible and dangerous dangerous person. Stacy then escalated to spamming my girlfriend with voice messages, doubling down on her bad-mouthing me. She even tried to say I was a threat to my girlfriend's well-being, as if I was gonna hurt her or something. It was clear her intent was to get my girlfriend to turn on me and break up. Stacy didn't even know me and has never even met me in person, and she's not even close friends of my girlfriend. She is literally just some internet friend. This was the start of big problems for me and my girlfriend. My girlfriend told me what was going on and showed me the conversation by her own choice. My girlfriend said she was on my side and that everything Stacy was saying was absolute garbage, but I noticed in the conversation she didn't defend me, she played the middleman instead, and seeing that really hurt. It felt like I was alone and I was not valued. This is where I learned how self-centered and self-serving my girlfriend was. It came to light that my girlfriend was more worried about maintaining her friendship with Stacy and tried to keep a clean internet image for herself. She valued her image, and someone clearly tried to tarnish my name and get in the middle of our relationship over me, clearly revealed a large fracture in our relationship, and one I was apparently blind to for several years. The relationship went downhill from there. I saw my girlfriend differently. I literally saw her for what she really was, until I eventually left her. I felt unappreciated and worthless to her. I'm eternally saddened by leaving my girlfriend. I really was moving my life to her, but suddenly backed out, and everything has been downhill for me since. I can't forgive her, however, and I don't hate her, but my heart and my hope was broken. But I can't get past this despise I have towards Stacy. I want misfortune and all these terrible things to happen to her. I am so full of anger and disgust, I can't seem to drop it. Some idiot felt the need to stir up some lies on false pretenses, and they succeeded. I don't know how to live with this, to be completely honest. I'm so angry. My girlfriend and I were happy, and we were managing together. My future was planned with her. We were happy, and then Stacy came in and ruined things for no real reason. Everything fell apart after this. I haven't been the same since. I've never felt this much anger and hatred. I've always been passive and calm and kind, but all I felt for so long after this is pain, humiliation, hurt, and rage. Whenever I think about it, I want to find Stacy and tell him exactly how I feel. All I feel is rage, and I don't know how to let it go or what to do. I think there are some silver linings here, despite how terrible this situation is. If anything, you probably dodged a big bullet with your girlfriend. She basically exposed herself for exactly who she is, and her true colors came out quite clearly. She didn't care about you. She only cared about her own self-image. So in my opinion, that's really not a bad thing. It probably was not going to work out no matter how good of a relationship you had. And when it comes to these people plagiarizing you and blatantly ripping off your art, in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would start calling people out and say, hey, this is what these people are actively doing to me, and start standing on your own 2 feet and defending your good name, because this Stacy character came out of nowhere and basically ruined your relationship with your girlfriend, even though in my opinion it probably wasn't going to work out. But you would have never known that unless Stacy got involved in some way. So I would personally absolutely start calling these people out. That's what I would do personally. Obviously you can do whatever you want, but I would not take this lying down, and I would not let this stop you making art. I think you owe it to yourself and your fans to keep creating. Turn this anger and this hate into a good thing, and start producing things based on how you're feeling. You never know, you could find an audience that really connects to what you're making. But either way, hopefully this all works out for you, because I can only imagine what it's like to not only get canceled, but then to lose your girlfriend who you thought was on your side. And as for this Stacy person, I think you have to realize that people who act like this and go out of their way to try and ruin your life legitimately have no lives themselves. They are, in every sense of the word, complete losers. I mean, this Stacy character went out of their way constantly to send messages after messages to your girlfriend just to try and persuade her to break up with you. I mean, she clearly has no other time on her hands other than to try and ruin your life and to stop you from making your art, which is clearly good enough for someone to try and ruin your life. Like, you gotta think about that. Clearly you have some kind of talent, and I just would not give up on your passion. So forget these people who are trying to hold you back and move forward with your life, because the best kind of revenge is living a life that is absolutely happy and fulfilled. So do your art, do your thing, and forget these people, because they are losers to begin with, and you do not need them in your life. I dumped my ex 3 years ago via text message, and I really feel bad about it, and I kind of want to apologize to him, but I'm not sure if this is a good move, and I honestly don't know what to do. So 3 years ago, I dated this guy for around 3 months, and ended up breaking up with him via text message. It was cowardly and inconsiderate of me, and I always feel bad about it at random points in my life, and sometimes I think maybe if I apologize to him, that it would be better for the both of us. I was also the first girl that he ever dated, so I feel bad for probably traumatizing him relationship-wise. At the time, I wanted to break up with him via text message, because I'd been planning the breakup for a while, but postponed it because he had a big overseas trip planned with his friends, and he was really excited, and I didn't want to ruin the trip for him. When he returned from his trip, it was his birthday, and he wanted to plan a birthday outing for me, and despite my refusals, he was determined to at least take me somewhere nice. I ended up breaking up with him via text message because I felt like if I met up with him, there would inevitably be birthday presents, as well as a special place with all this stuff planned, and I would feel really bad for making him spend that much time and effort on me just to break up with him. I provided a long explanation in the text message for the reason of our breakup, and he wanted to meet up afterwards just to discuss it, which I agreed to, and we did meet up once to discuss the breakup, and he cried and we hugged and it really was awkward. Later on we did meet up one more time because he wanted to, but then he was acting like I was still his girlfriend again, so I decided to stop communicating with him since he was crossing the boundaries. The reason I broke up with him was because I felt like he truly never liked me and instead just wanted a girlfriend who would spend quality time with him, and there were moments where he would get very forceful and very demanding in that regard. So from that day on, I decided to end the relationship, but I had to wait because of his trip and my birthday. But what made the breakup worse was his friend saw me a week later on a date with another guy, which then caused my ex to message me asking if I had cheated on him, to which I didn't reply because he was just getting angry with me and being really rude and blowing up my phone. Fast forward a year later, and he occasionally would reply to my Instagram posts or my stories, and we would have a cordial chit-chat. One of these times, he apologized for his behavior in the past, and I said it's okay. All this time, I justify my cowardly behavior on the basis that he had done some unforgivable things to me, but I've come to the realization that this does not excuse what I did. So it begs the question, should I even apologize for what happened? Or would that do a lot more harm than good at this point in our lives? I want to move on from this, and I want to be able to find peace with this part of my life. What should I do? So you dated this guy for 3 months 3 years ago, and you broke up with him because he was being a little too pushy in ways that made you very uncomfortable. So in that regard, I don't blame you for breaking up with him. He truly did not sound like a good boyfriend, and if everything you're saying is true, then I think you made the right choice. But with all of that in mind, I don't think you gain anything by rehashing the past and digging up stuff that happened 3 years ago. I mean, it's unfortunate. It probably wasn't the best thing to send a text message to break up with this guy. You now know that's probably not the best way to handle things, and you just move on from there. But bringing it back up after so many years, I think is just opening up a door that I really don't think you want to open, because it honestly seems like you want to do this for yourself to make you feel better, and I kind of feel like you're deluding yourself into thinking that it would be good for him. If anything, it's just going to open up old wounds, and that's just not fair for anybody involved. And worst of all, if he hasn't moved on from you, it could give him this unrealistic hope that maybe there's a chance that you two could get back together again, and that just sounds like an absolute nightmare to deal with. So honestly, just let it go and move on. Otherwise, this is only going to welcome new problems in your life. My dad now thinks that because I finished high school, I should dedicate all my time to doing house chores, and it's honestly becoming too much and I don't know what to do. So I finished high school a few weeks ago, and I'm on break until university starts. During the last few years, I've been suffering from a chronic illness, and I found it difficult to have any time outside of studying when I'm not already being sick. So I did do less chores in my house. For context, I live with both my parents and 2 younger siblings. I used to do a lot of chores since I was 11, and I would do almost all my homework. In fact, outside of the main part of cooking, I would do a lot of meal prepping to assist with the cooking. But then I became sick, and school got busier over the last few years, and my dad has hated and complained about it, especially since I barely do any chores after having several really bad and difficult years. Now that I finished school, I've been trying to commit to things that'll improve my health, and I've also started working, so I'm honestly pretty busy. When my dad gets back from work, he'll yell at me for not doing a certain chore. He doesn't ask me to do anything specifically, he just expects me to do what looks like needs to be done around the house. I honestly haven't thought much of it, since I felt that I'm out of practice, so I should be helping out a bit more since I'm at home during the day some days. But today, he realized I joined a gym. I joined 3 days ago, but he only noticed today since I came home a bit late. For context, I'm joining a gym because I've really struggled with my stamina, and my doctors say that exercise really could help. My dad knows this, but he actually thinks that doing house chores will replace exercise in some way. In fact, he said, "What did you do that for? You should be staying home to do your house chores instead." And I'm really just angry because it seems like he thinks that now I don't have school for 3 months, all I should do is house chores. He made a comment about me working too much recently as well. I only work 8 hours a week, by the way, and because of that, I should be doing my chores and taking care of my siblings, such as picking up my brother from school and stuff like that. Ironically, I use that money to pay for my medical and educational expenses because my parents can't afford it. As a reference, my family eats out once a week at nice restaurants and has a 5-bedroom house, so it's mainly just poor or non-existent budgeting as to why they can't help me with my schooling. I want to say something and try to defend myself, but saying something results in being yelled at, and I don't really want to go through that, so I'm honestly not sure what to do. This is obviously really tricky, because it sounds like you have a lot going on with going to the gym and school coming up, but your dad still expects you to do all these chores throughout the day. I mean, it just sounds like he's being unreasonable. So if anything, maybe create a realistic list of chores that you absolutely could complete, considering your schedule and your health issues. That way you can still contribute to the house, but not be expected to take care of the entire house with no pay. I mean, that's just ridiculous in my opinion. You're just a college student trying to figure things out, and it doesn't sound like you're being lazy or anything like that. I'm sure the health issues that you might be going through are probably really limiting, and it's probably really frustrating that you can't do more. But at the same time, your dad is asking way too much. So hopefully if you have a conversation with him, you can possibly come to some kind of compromise, because otherwise this living situation is going to be miserable, and you're honestly just going to get burned out. My friend is constantly trying to poke holes in things that I'm excited about, and I don't know why they're doing this, and it's really starting to bother me. So here's the thing. Whenever I talk to him about something I'm excited about, or if it's something that I'm just genuinely interested in, he always finds a way to poke holes in it. He rarely seems interested in what I'm saying other than to immediately critique it or find some way to deflate my excitement afterwards. He always finds some reason to try and almost delegitimize whatever I'm excited about, or to make me feel silly for even liking it in the first place. And half the time that he does this, it seems like whatever he's saying is such a stretch, or it all just feels very weird, and it makes me wonder why he can't just be excited with me about this cool thing that I'm excited about, or even just say, oh cool, I'm happy for you, or even something as simple as, oh that's neat. I mean, that would suffice for me. It sometimes feels in general like so much negativity is there, especially when I'm just chilling with him. He only ever seems interested in a discussion when he can criticize or complain about something. He only has something to say when it's negative, and even then it's just a long monologue for him. It also sometimes feels like he's filtering for the negative issue, or always looking down his nose at stuff that he might not approve of, and it feels like he doesn't approve of anything. I don't know if I should bring it up, but it makes me not want to hang out with him, or tell him when I'm excited or interested in something new, or even just something in general. It feels like he's only down to talk if he's there to try and complain about something, and I'm tired of him always trying to scan for things to make me feel like an idiot for when I'm excited about a topic at hand. What's the best way to bring this up without making it seem like I'm getting super defensive? What should I do? It always sucks having a friend like this, because I know exactly what this guy is talking about. They basically have a friend who's negative about everything. Nothing ever makes them happy. They're always complaining about something, and it's always at everybody else's expense. They literally just cannot be happy for anybody else's accomplishment or anything that they are excited about. And if you've never dealt with someone like that before, let me tell you, it is so exhausting. It's exhausting having to listen to that all the time, because just like the original poster said, eventually it feels like you can't even talk to them. And I honestly don't blame them for feeling this way. How can you possibly maintain a friendship with someone like this and still want to share good news with them in any way, shape, or form? I mean, this guy that was being described sounds really miserable to hang out with, and it makes me wonder why you even bother spending time with him in the first place. Because I can understand this every now and then if there's actually something that's like legitimately annoying, or if it's something like, oh man, I really don't like that. But it sounds like this guy is always finding something to complain about. So in my opinion, having some distance and finding some other friends to hang out with, maybe even just to balance out your mental state, would probably do you a lot of good. Being around someone negative like that has got to be miserable, and I just can't see that friendship lasting unless some kind of change is made in your life. You can definitely bring it up to him, but guess what? He's probably going to turn this on you. If his previous conversations are any kind of artifact that you can look to, he's probably just going to use this as an excuse to then critique you, and that, in my opinion, will really hurt, and I don't think you need that. It's one thing for him to poke holes in something that you're interested in, but it's another thing for him to do that to you personally, because that, in my opinion, really will be the end of your friendship. So hopefully this works out and you can find some other friends to hang out with, because this guy literally sounds miserable, and I simply do not feel like this is a healthy friendship to stay stuck in. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description, and the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.